Welcome to Uniquely Brilliant, a podcast for creative, quirky, and extraordinary thinkers of all ages and the people who love them. We encourage, inspire, and provide strategies to motivate you to embrace your unique brilliance and realize your potential for success. Hi, I'm Diana Bader, also known as Coach Di. I encourage teens and young adults to become who they are and develop personal success through self-awareness and positivity. You can find me at freshcanvascoaching.com, follow and like the Fresh Canvas Facebook page, or follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Di.
Hello there, I'm Becky Berry. I am a performance coach who helps people level up their lives by smoothing out the relationship between their work lives and their personal lives. You can find my website at beckyberrycoach.com. I'm on Twitter at Becky Berry Coach, and you can find me on my Facebook page, Becky Berry Coach.
Together we are here sharing our thoughts, insights, and experiences from our own uniquely brilliant perspective. All right, it's episode 108, and today we're talking about Velcro.
The Velcro episode. You've been waiting for this. Come on, don't lie. We know you have.
Yep.
I love this imagery, so.
It is, yeah. We were talking a little bit about how things stick to us, or we let them stick to us.
Oh, like we're the Velcro. Okay, I got that. Yeah.
And how we get attached to things. Mm-hmm. And I loved your idea earlier when we were talking about this during the notes about how it can also be repositionable.
Yeah, you can move. You can take it up. I want to know who heard the Velcro coming apart when we said Velcro. Everybody raise your hand, because my hand does. Every time the word comes out of my mouth, I hear it.
Oh,
I totally hear it. But it is, it's reusable, and it can be repositioned. So let's talk about the things that we get Velcroed onto us that we might want to move, reposition, use a different way.
Yeah.
Right?
Or
does
just,
that make sense?
Clean it off.
My favorite question. Does that make sense?
But yeah, I mean, there's lots of things that stick with us. It's whether it's ideas, whether it's the past, expectations. I mean, there's plenty of stuff in our lives, like actual physical stuff that is around us all the time, and that when it's stuck with us, it goes with us.
Well, okay. I like stuck, but I think when you first mentioned this a couple episodes ago, it was like the calendar episode. I thought I wrote down 99, episode 99 about the calendar. I pictured that we were holding on to stuff tightly, like the loops, like when you can't get there's the sound again. I can't get the Velcro apart. I'm going to find some Velcro, and I think I've got some down here. We're going to do it right into the mic so people can enjoy that
ripping apart sound.
Yeah. The oral part.
But yeah, there are things that we hold on to too tightly.
Right.
And like I said, drag with us, it weighs us down.
Yeah.
And it can be too much. And we were talking in the last episode about about moving into the new year and letting go. Mm-hmm. And
that past is prologue, yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so this is more, what are you bringing with you? What do you need? If we've had a let go episode, this is kind of a little bit of that. What are some of the things that you were so attached to? Some things it's good. Sometimes it's good to be attached to some things.
But some things we're needlessly attached to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's take our favorite subject. We should do some kind of search on our podcast and see how many times we talk about expectations. But it's core.
It is.
It's core. I mean, we can say everything comes down to expectations that we either consciously have or unconsciously have, because that's the way people work.
And it's not only our own personal expectations, it's expectations that we've adopted from...
external.
From around us.
Right. From what we see, what we hear, how people interact with us.
And even, things even further out, like social media, regular media, all these, this is what we talk about.
This is what it's supposed to look like.
Yep. This is success. This is love. This is this.
The only way to do this, the number one way to do this.
And when we get attached to those expectations, then we set ourselves up.
Right.
Because we detach from ourselves.
Right.
And there's a imbalance there.
So when it's balanced, it goes together like the Velcro pieces working together. Okay. I just flashed into my mind there. I can see how that would work. I mean, I have the expectation to do good work.
Mm-hmm. And that's
do I have an expectation of what that looks like? Maybe in some things I do, but not in others. I just know that that's my goal. That's my expectation of myself. I don't think it's unreasonable.
Well, and that's one of the things I think the difference between an expectation and an attachment is.
Oh, yeah.
Because
I like that.
With the attachment, you're attached to the end result.
Mm-hmm.
You're attached to the outcome.
You're Velcroed to it.
Yes. You're actually probably super glued to it.
Uh-huh.
Until you realize you can use some solvent and break it away. But that's
but
more...
that didn't have a sound.
No.
I'm going for the Velcro.
Okay. Well, it just has a smell, and we can't do that with a podcast. But that's sort of that fixed mindset thing, is when you have that attachment.
Yeah.
When
it's only one way.
There's one way. There's this is what it should look like. This is how it should come out. And when we have that really tight attachment, when we are holding on so tight to something, that's when the stress builds up, and that's when we start to self-doubt and feel like failures if it doesn't follow through. If it does, then that affirms it. But if it doesn't, then it's like, we've talked about this, with holiday dinners, family things,
everything.
If you have too much a project at work.
Yeah. When you are so focused on a certain end result, there's no space for genius to come in, for creativity to come in, for, dare I say this word, during the holidays, because this will be like, when is this one coming out? The second week in January, for relaxation to come in. Mm-hmm. Because when we're tight, when we're like in that grasp, when all those loops are connected together, there's no space. And it's really strong, right? It's really strong. I mean, I Velcro pictures to the wall and they stay there. That's strong.
Well, and I've seen this with like parenting. I've seen this with upper management when they have that fixed mindset that this is how things are going to work out, and they don't take into account the people they're working with,
right,
or their children or whatever. I mean, I have some friends that, as they've raised their kids, were so attached to the outcome, and sometimes when you hold on that tightly, things explode.
Well, I've done that. I did that when Ken was little. I was a crazy woman. I mean,
you?
I was oh my gosh. Yeah, you wouldn't even recognize me. For several reasons. But one of them was I thought things had to be a certain way. I mean, there were some things I had a pretty good grasp on, but I read stuff all the time, and I was always second guessing what I was doing. And I'm like, I still do this. I'm not doing it. This is the class thing. This is buying class after class after class and not trusting what I know. And my therapist famously said to me at one session, she goes, you are not to buy another baby book, read another parenting article, or ask for more advice. You know what to do. Just do it. She goes, you're polling for approval. So that was pretty extreme. And I did it. Parts of it. I still poll for approval, but I stopped like looking for everything, but it was because I didn't want to mess it up. And in that holding on to it so tightly, like A, what is messed up? Mm-hmm. B, what is not messed up? And C, if you're holding on to it so tightly that there's no air, no air can get in there. How do you breathe, and how does it become a living organism? And by the way, Ken is like a person, so he needs like space. So it was more about me. It was more about, and I know it's a very mom thing to do, about second guessing every single thing I ever did.
Yeah, and I've seen that with, like I said, parenting, seen it in corporations.
Right. I do it. I still do it.
Mm-hmm.
We do it. You do it. That's why you get those classes. We do it for the same reason. There's got to be another way to do this. Maybe or you're tweaking. Me, I'm like, I'm not doing this right.
I'm exploring. I think I'm exploring.
I'm always looking for a solution. There's that linear thing. Hello. There's that linear thing, and there's that fluid thing. Diana is fluid. Becky is linear.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, because I think I'm looking for, I don't think I'm looking for an end result. I think I'm looking for more tools for my toolbox.
There's a reason I hang out with you. Just saying.
More colors for my palette is probably
oh my gosh,
a better
there
thing
you go.
to do.
There you go. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Probably more it. Just because I like to learn. I mean, I just really do.
Well, me too,
but I like to learn just for learning's sake.
But it's yeah. It depends on what I'm learning.
Well, yeah, I mean,
because the stuff I read. I mean, it just depends on what I'm learning.
Well,
it depends on how Velcroed I am to the stakes. Right? What kind of stakes am I putting on this? Does everything right? Am I getting this right? Let me just say to you that there's nothing on the planet that really rides on you getting one thing right.
Oh, nothing. And it's interesting that you're using the word right, because that is such an expectation. It's such an external thing.
Right.
I mean,
I say it's my word too. I mean, I say it all the time.
Who determines what's right?
Exactly. Who determines the ultimate outcome?
Yeah, that's one of those things I have a real issue with.
Like, right? Yeah, I know you do. I mean, I told you that's why you're so good for me.
Yeah, because I have a real hard time believing in right and wrong, especially when it comes to people, because I've seen, I do have quite a big growth mindset. And that's why I love all the interesting, quirky people that I get to meet, because I know along the way somebody told them that they were wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And no way.
That's why we both do what we do. I mean, that exact. So, yeah, I think that's true. I don't tend to think of people in black and white terms. I think of me in black and white terms, because it's totally opposite of how I deal. You know this. It's totally opposite of how I deal with people, isn't it? How I deal with myself.
You are a people.
I know.
Do you not know you're a people?
Well, yeah.
No, but I mean, no, you're right. We are much harder on ourselves. We are always. I am much harder on myself than I would be on anybody else.
Well, my coach and friend Christina said to me, look, somebody once told me, don't talk to yourself in a way you wouldn't talk to your friends. And I'll be like all over my case in my head, and I will say out loud, shut up. Just stop it and shut up. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, I remember reading...
You can't talk to me that way.
No, I remember reading just a line. I can't remember exactly what it was I was going through. And I was reading like a chapter of a book or something. And they're describing a whole situation. And that was very similar to some of the stuff that I was going through at the time. And then it said, would you let your sister, your best friend, your daughter go through this the way you're doing it? Or would you help them get out of the situation? And I'm like,
oh,
right? Oh,
right.
Yeah, why am I treating myself any worse than I would treat all the other people that I find awesome in my life?
I agree. Yeah. I think that's really important.
But as a mom, it's hard to put yourself first. You want to put your kids first. You want to put, if you're married, you want to put your spouse first.
Yeah. Well, I have something I wanted to send to a client this morning. And I was like, I'm getting this to the post office before Diana gets here for the podcast. And I'm like, no. I went oxygen. Thank you, Oprah. Oxygen. And I ate, and I did all my other stuff first, and I didn't get it in the mail. But we'll go mail it when we go to lunch. It's funny how these things can just stick to you. A certain way of thinking, a certain approach to both situations and people.
Yes.
But both situations and people, instead of being more fluid and ready to look for an appropriate way to attach. Oh, there's another topic right there. An appropriate way to attach.
Yeah.
Because there isn't a
Well, there's some things you do want to have attachment to.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to have the attachment that I have to my family as long as I keep it healthy. And
I think there's something to be said to have an attachment to results.
Oh, yeah.
As long as they're not some kind of prescribed by somebody else result.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the whole point of a goal.
Right.
Is to get to something at the end. Now, one of the things I think that people get attached to in that is the process, is the journey to get to that end result.
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't, most times I find it doesn't go always that way. And that's where people, I think, get lost, is in that journey piece.
Yeah. I totally know that, right? I did my one women's tech conservatory. The next one didn't work out. It's been on my to-do list, every one of them, you can see it, for 6 months. And I haven't had another one. Why? Because I haven't pushed it. So, it's that it didn't go the way I expected. Then the next part didn't go the way I expected, which, normally doesn't bother me. But it did.
Well, yeah, I mean, and there you are back with the expectations, the expecting word. One of the things I think, and it's taken me a while to see this, is when I've allowed for a little bit of space, for a little bit of, change in direction, a pause when I didn't really want one, kind of things like that, I'm starting to see how it plays out in different parts of my life more. And now looking back, retrospect, I'm seeing how detours were, getting me on a better track. I always, I have a tendency to think that, okay, I'm on this track. This is going to be an awesome track. But sometimes the detours are the best.
Right. Well, I've got that. I've written about it like 4 times.
Yeah.
And I have that magnet that says detours still get you there. I think that's great. I think another thing I could do that I've read about, and I don't think to do it, is a pre-mortem. So if I'm putting together this plan to launch this class or offer whatever it is I'm doing, I can do a pre-mortem. What could go wrong? What could go right? What could go wrong? And what am I going to do? I know what I'm going to do if it goes right. What am I going to do if it plays out a different way? And I think that's a very valuable exercise.
Oh, yeah.
I think that helps build flexibility into the system.
And one of the things that I've started doing, too, is if I get to a roadblock, I'll take that pause that we talk about all the time and reassess where I am. Mm-hmm. And kind of like the GPS, I'm recalculating. Okay.
recalculating. I think the pause is important. Mm-hmm. I think the pause is important.
Because it gives you a chance to see if everything that you're taking is, everything that's stuck to you, everything you're attached to is still valuable now. It may have had value at another time, but it may not be as valuable now.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when I'm cleaning out my house now. Some things that I'm going through and finding, they had their time and place, but do they have the time and place in my future?
No.
Yeah. So it's something that I'm assessing constantly as I'm doing that, as I'm packing up stuff,
which keeps you from being attached to inappropriate that.
Yeah. Although sometimes the pause is a little bit longer than I want it to be. Oh, do I really want this? Oh, but we'll see, because I have with my creative mind, it's like, oh, but how could I reuse this and blah blah blah, and then I have to go, okay,
do I want to pack this and move it?
Exactly. That's what it's starting to boil down to. I'll go, okay, yeah, do I want to pay for this to be moved?
Well, I've heard Gretchen Rubin did a podcast on this, talking about pretend like you're moving even though you're not.
Oh.
And I thought it was genius.
That is good.
Of course, there's a lot of stuff I'd rather do than having been in this house for 34 years, pretend like I'm there. I already did.
Yeah, I know you've done a great job.
Dumpsters and stuff full of stuff already gone. But that's pretty funny. Well, speaking of attachment, this reminds me, my mom's been going through like her material and her yarns and all this stuff. She's like 81 and giving it away. And people go, well, Mary Cindy, won't you use this? And she goes, well, I just don't want the girls to have to deal with it later. Mm-hmm.
That's really awesome.
And they're like, well, that's kind of morbid. She's like, I don't think so.
Yeah. She's
attached appropriately to it. It's not, her life doesn't depend on those things staying in her house.
Exactly.
Well, and we do have a certain attachment to ideas of life and death, and what, we're going to live forever. That's what she usually says. Like what? I'm going to live forever? Mm-hmm. I don't think so. And I'm like, it's my mom. So it's not just things and people. It's ideas that sometimes we have the opportunity to go, wait a minute, am I attached appropriately to this idea, or is there a way to think about this subject, death, life, whatever, just the little things. Mm-hmm. Just the little things. Is there a different approach that would serve me better?
Yeah, because when you're a kid, I went through this with my kids because we lost a lot of people when they were very young, and it was very fearful. Mm-hmm. And they had just a lot of thoughts around it and a lot of fear, and there was a book, and I'm trying to remember the exact quote from it. There's a book that my son had at school, and it said, there was just one line in it, and it said, everything has to go somewhere.
Oh, wow. I like that.
And that one line in that book was totally comforting to him.
Does it say everyone? Is that what you said?
No, it just said everything, because it was actually a book it was some sort of science book, and it says everything has to go somewhere. And that's all he needed to hear.
Yeah.
To be like,
to organize it.
Oh, okay, cool. everything has to go somewhere. Well, so, and he just, it was a way to detach from the fear and attach to a concept that worked for him.
I love that. That's really...
Yeah, and he actually brought it up to his teacher. And she brought it up to me and explained it to me. And I'm like, okay, yeah, where's this book? I want to buy this book. I want to keep,
That's
I want to reinforce this.
Well, you see, there's that attachment because my cousin's husband died, like, drop dead. Tuesday night, I think. Wednesday night. Yeah, Wednesday night. And he wasn't particularly old. It's just, and it was like a, whoa. And, when we think about how we're attached to ideas of life and death, there are a lot of opportunities there for reassessment and change as we get older. We can find ourselves attached to these ideas that we were introduced to as small kids and never really, even though we lose people, never really even adjust how we think about it.
Yeah.
And how we think about our own, it's probably why we don't adjust to it, is we don't want to think about our own mortality. But just those are the things that make you, at least they make me go, okay, so, wow, does this change anything for me? Does this change the way I approach my life or think about things?
Yeah, I think one of the things that the concepts that has really come to play in my life is more about the quality of life. Mm-hmm. And I've had a lot of conversations. This seems to be a topic that's been popping up, especially with a lot of my friends who have now older parents.
Right.
And their doctors are telling them, well, you shouldn't be, eating this, and you shouldn't be drinking this, and you shouldn't be doing this, and
gosh.
And a lot. Now, some of my friends are like, okay, well, you can't have this anymore, and you can't have this, and take on that parental role with their parents.
Barfaroni.
And then I've had some friends recently that have been fun to talk to that are like, why would I stop them?
Right? They tried to do that to my mother-in-law because she was pre-diabetic, whatever, she had the meds. And, she needs to be on a diabetic diet. I'm like, she's 91, she can eat whatever she wants. She's going to die one day. Let's just die happy. Mm-hmm. I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious right here? Yeah. Are you serious right here? It makes, I don't know, that just doesn't fit my view. Just going to put it this way, that's that attachment. Mm-hmm. That's that attachment. You got to have a certain blood pressure. You got to have this. You got to look this way. You got to be this way if you're 91 years old. Who says?
Yeah.
Who says? 91 in 2017 is not like 91 in even 1985 or 1975. And for sure not 1965 and before that. I'm like, who are you to decide? It makes me crazy.
Yes, it makes me crazy too.
It makes me crazy. She lives by herself and she drives. I'm like, uh-huh. And she drives pretty well. Thank you very much. How do you know? We follow her. Hello. Sometimes on purpose, sometimes not. But I'm just like, who says?
Yes.
Who says that we have to be attached to this one way of looking at what it's like to be 60, what it's like to be 70, 80, 50. Some of you guys are still 50. Not me. No. Mm-hmm. No. Those attachments become self-limiting.
Oh, very much so.
Right? I mean, and if they have you in their grasp and you are not consciously in their grasp, then you're not really in control of what you're doing.
Well, and you don't see the options.
Right.
You don't see
it's that
all
air,
the
right?
other things.
Letting that air in.
Yeah.
Letting that space in.
Yeah. And, I have this with people that I know that are a little bit more fixed mindset. And I see the options, and this is where I get frustrated, and this is all on me. But if something doesn't happen, it's like, okay, you know what? You had this, and this way to handle it, but you could only see this way.
Well, it's hard to learn that.
It is.
Bo taught me that. Like, I think Dad had his first heart attack. We'd been married 3 months, probably 4. They were putting in the garage door opener, and Dad had a heart attack the next day. So it was pretty funny. Not, but it was funny. And not all at the same time. But my family's always had this way to react to stuff. And Bo kind of blew it apart. He goes, well, let's just do this. And I'm like, wow, this is so much better. So it's good to have somebody who can be that conduit to change.
Yes, I love, that's why I love acquiring those people in my world.
Right, right.
Because, because you get attached to yourself.
Right.
a lot of times. You have a limited view of your world because
It's your world.
yes,
You're inside of it.
and the only way to expand your world is to get out and be with other people and other cultures and other things. And you can do that even vicariously through books.
Yep.
But you have to expand
Right.
in order to allow all this other stuff in.
I agree. I think it's critical. And when we forget that, then we can feel stuck.
Mm-hmm.
We can feel so stuck that we can't move.
Yeah.
And then when we're that stuck that we can't move, then it is really painful because then we got to get that. Then it feels like this. I remembered I had Velcro right here.
Oh.
So then it feels like this. Oh, I need a big piece, so let me just get real close. And I think that sounds worse than a Band-Aid coming off. Just saying, for me. We just get, then it's painful.
Yeah.
Then it's painful. Because if the universe has decided we need that lesson, we're going to get that lesson.
Repeatedly, if we don't learn it.
Been there, done that, written a couple books about it. Yeah. No, a couple of blog posts about it. But it's true that's how, I think that's a way to tell that it's an unhealthy attachment, is that if you even start dealing with it and trying to become unattached, it's incredibly painful. And that's something to look at. Like, wait, why is this so painful?
Mm-hmm.
Is this painful because it's like holding me back?
Yeah, that's a very great concept, yes. Mm-hmm. And the thing is that when we think that pain is going to stay.
Right.
But like the Velcro, it comes apart.
Right.
Relatively quickly. The faster you rip through it.
Yeah, like the Band-Aid. Just boom, take it out.
But when you first feel that pain, you think you're going to get stuck with it. And it's easier to put it back over. Put it back on.
To connect it back in a different place. You can reposition it, right? You can reposition it. You can get it to a place that is more in line with who you are right now.
Yeah.
Might not have been who you were last week or last month or last year or 10 years ago. That's the other thing about holding on to things tight is you're not, you can't compensate for your own growth.
No. Well, and people do that because they're comfortable with it, even if it's something painful.
Right.
You're comfortable in the pain. You're comfortable.
Oh, yeah. We've talked about that a lot.
Yeah, in the uncomfort.
That immunity to change thing where it's the ultimate expression of the devil versus the devil you don't know.
And you feel safe because you know what that is.
You know how to deal with it. You've already figured out how you're numb.
Yep.
So yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think being attached, examining our attachments to ideas, to people, to things, to places is a valuable tool for figuring out how to move forward. Even if you don't want to change anything, maybe you don't want to change anything, but just evaluating those attachments. Why am I staying in this house? Why am I so attached to this one person? And, those kind of things. Those can help you go forward when you take the time to examine them. And if it's ineffective or if it's painful, if it's not serving you, you can rip it up. And you don't have to rip it up and throw it away. You can reposition it, right? You can attach it a different way. So those are the things to go repurpose it. I knew what you were going to say.
I know you did.
That's that Diana word. Repurpose the recycling bars so that it can inform how you go forward.
I like that.
It goes back to past as prologue, doesn't it? Which was the last episode. There's a reason I like that episode. That was 107. All right, I think you ready? I think it's time for a stamp of brilliance, and we will be right back.
All right, today the stamp of brilliance is asking you, are your attachments holding you back?
I like that.
Alrighty. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, please share it with a friend. Also take a minute to rate it and leave a review on iTunes. Check out our website at uniquelybrilliant.me and sign up to have the podcast delivered directly to your inbox. Shoot any thoughts, comments, and suggestions to us at uniquelybrilliant.me. You can also reach out to us on our Facebook page. Don't forget to like us. And you can find us now on YouTube.
Yep, that's where you find our notes. So if we talked about an episode in the podcast, we'll list it in our notes on YouTube. So until next time,